StraightallDay.com.
What it actually means to operate like a CEO. All of you have heard this phrase, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're in the business world. You've heard people talk about operating like a CEO or having CEO energy or doing what a CEO does or something along the lines of that phrase, something that rhymes with that metaphorically. And a lot of entrepreneurs talk about this. The concept gets thrown around a lot. So let's talk about it because it is a real thing. And we're going to get literal here today. And those of you who are already CEOs, and if you are the only person in your business as a solopreneur, you are the CEO, even though you may not give yourself the title, or for whatever reason, you want to start operating like a CEO. We're going to talk about how you can actually do this and have a real path towards understanding how it's done, regardless of what the organization is, entrepreneur or not, because you can be a CEO. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. CEOs often are working in companies, Fortune 500 companies, Forbes companies, and corporations. So how can you be a CEO and operate like one regardless of what you're doing? Again, you could be a high school principal. You can operate like a CEO. Let's talk about it. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, what it actually means to operate like a CEO. Number one, your presence sets the tone for the entire organization on a daily basis. This is the number one job. If you're a CEO, this is the number one job that you have. Your number one job is not to be the smartest person in the room, even though you may be the smartest person in the room. It's not to have a shiny resume. It's not to have a corner office, a business suit, or a business card. The most important thing a CEO does is they set the tone for the entire organization through your presence, through your energy, and through the way you carry yourself on a daily basis, because everybody else is looking at you and they're getting their cues from you, and the way you carry yourself is how the organization is going to carry itself. This is the number one job of a CEO. In the book called The Go-Giver by John David Mann and Bob Burg, the allegorical tale that basically makes the story what it is, makes the book what it is, rather. It's not a fiction book, but it's an allegorical tale. It tells the story of a CEO, fictional CEO, and the CEO and their company was going through some tumultuous times. Let's just say that, the company in the book. And the CEO was explaining that his biggest job as the CEO of the company is to have a vision in his head of where the company is going and what the company is going to be in the future, even when, and especially when, there's a whole lot of doubt amongst the organization as to what that future is going to be or if there even will be a future. That's the job of the CEO, is to basically, in short, if I had to make this a simpler term, is bringing certainty to the situation even when there's a ton of uncertainty swirling around the situation. That's the job of the CEO. This is an emotional, energetic thing, not a tactical, intellectual thing. When everybody else is very unsure what things are going to be or if there will even be a thing in the future, the CEO reminds everybody that there will be one. The CEO is the CEO because you represent safety and stability and a reason to feel good about the present and the future to everyone else who works there. Again, this is a leadership job, which is much more energetic than it is about a tactical skill. NBA Hall of Fame player Dennis Rodman said of his time, his 3 years playing with the Chicago Bulls in the late 90s, that every single time you stepped on the court for the Bulls, you always felt like you had a chance to win because Michael Jordan was on the team. Michael Jordan, by the way, those 3 years that Dennis Rodman was on the team, he played all 82 games, all 3 seasons. Michael Jordan, that is. And these days, of course, we have players who do what they call load management, players sitting out games, players getting all different types of injuries. Michael Jordan played all 82 games 3 years in a row, his last run with the Chicago Bulls. So every game Dennis Rodman played, Michael Jordan played. And Dennis said every game you felt you had a chance to win because Michael Jordan was playing. Dennis didn't play all the games, but Michael played all the games. That's the CEO. You show up every day ready to go. If you ask people, and I'm using Michael Jordan here as an example for several reasons. First of all, Michael Jordan is the best basketball player. Secondly, Michael Jordan operated like a CEO even though he was a basketball player playing on the basketball team. It's not like he was running some organization. He's playing on the basketball team. He was a player, not the coach, not the owner, not the general manager, he was a player. But his energy was similar to what I'm describing here. He had CEO energy. He was the CEO of the team on the court, even though he didn't have the title. And his energy, the way he showed up every day, told everybody else how to show up. And if you listen to anybody who played with Michael Jordan, watch that documentary that came out about 5 years ago about the Chicago Bulls, None of them talk about, oh, he had this great jump shot and he can jump this high and he scored this many points. None of his teammates say that about him. They say the way he showed up told all of us how to show up. That's what they all say. That's the CEO's job. Perfect demonstration, perfect example of it. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is what it actually means to operate like a CEO. Number 2, operate from and maintain a vision of the future. Just touched on this in point number 1. You must have a vision of the future and the company that you're a part of so that everybody knows where the company's going and that you embody where it's going, which is why you can push and cajole and inspire others to keep doing what they're doing because you see where the company will be in the future, even if the everyday rank and file people can't see it for themselves. They can't see it. Maybe they don't care to see it. Maybe they generally don't even care about the future of the company because they don't plan on being around 3 years from now or even 6 months from now. You still must embody the future of where the company is going, even though the people working with and for you don't even care about where the company is going or if it's going anywhere at all. Because all they care about is getting their checks. I worked at many jobs before I became a full-time entrepreneur, and every job that I worked at before I became a full-time entrepreneur, I knew I was not going to be there in 10 years. I knew I wasn't there for the long haul. I knew I was there for the short term. Let me get my checks, let me make my money, and I'm going to get the hell out of here as soon as my opportunity to move on to something better comes along. I always had that in mind. And companies tend to have a good number of people who had my same mentality on their payroll at all times. Why? Because I ain't the CEO. It ain't my job to be thinking about the future of the company. I'm thinking about the future of me. All right, that's my job. And the CEO, despite this, still must have a vision for the future of the company, even while employing a bunch of people who don't have one and don't care. For example, I was playing for this traveling basketball team once it was about 2006, 2007. And I would call the main office of the team. This is a small business, so it's not a corporate traveling team. Small business team, probably 10 employees, something like that. And after we would have games, we'd be traveling around the United States. So when I tell you I've been to every state in the United States, one of the main reasons, all those states in the middle that I've been to, is because of this traveling team that I was playing for. I would call the home office after some of our games and ask them, hey, can you acquire the footage from the game that we last played in? Because I wanted to gather as much footage as I could so I could use it for a highlight reel that I could use for my future basketball endeavors. And the owner of the team got wind that I was calling and asking for this footage, and he pieced together accurately, not to his dismay, but also accurately, that the reason I was asking for the footage is because I was trying to gather it to use it to sell myself for future playing opportunities that went above and beyond the team that I was employed by, and he was the owner of the team. So I'm basically working for him, and I'm looking for another job while I'm still working at his job. And he was kind of annoyed by that. And the word got back to me that he was annoyed by it. And the word that I got back to him, I didn't say this in so many words, but I didn't give a fuck that he was annoyed. Why? Because I was thinking about me. I was thinking about my future. My future was not working for his company. His future was his company. So he should be thinking like a CEO and thinking about where his company's going. I didn't give a fuck where his company was going. Just pay me my money, give me my footage so I can move on to something bigger and better. And when you're the CEO of a company, you're going to have people on your staff who are thinking this way. That does not give you license to think this way, because then your business is going to go out of business. You need to be thinking about the company, and if you don't like having people who think this way, well, you replace them. But you're not going to get everybody to think the way that you think, because there's only one CEO, only one owner. Well, not all companies have one owner, but there's only one CEO. So you think about an Amazon factory, for example. Any of you ever worked in an Amazon warehouse? You work in an Amazon warehouse. Most of the people working there probably don't care about the future of Amazon like as a business. Maybe you care about, I wonder if Amazon's going to get the NFL package for next season, maybe something like that. But you don't care about the future of Amazon as a company, because if they go out of business, well, you'll just go get another job working somewhere else. Amazon's factory is closed, their warehouse is closed. Okay, I'll go work at FedEx. FedEx is closed, I'll go work at Walmart. All right, you'll just get another job somewhere else. All you care about is your paycheck. Is that true? But the CEO of Amazon, that person cares a lot about the future, and they need to make sure that the systems and processes are in place so that those rank and file workers who don't give a damn about the future of the company are still doing what they're supposed to do, so that the company can go where it needs to go in the future, because the systems are in place to tell the workers what to do, whether you care about the future or not. If you follow the system that we have in place, and we'll pay you if you do, you're still going to help us get to the future, even though you're not even trying to, because all you're doing is following what we told you to do. That's what systems do. Systems make the people not completely irrelevant, but they make the will of the people less relevant, because Again, as long as the people are following the system, then whether you care about the future of the company or not matters less and less, because the system is telling you exactly what your job is. And the system is designed to help us get to where we want to go. You are just a cog being used in the system. This is pretty much how it works when you work at a job, especially at big companies. So the process and the systems are directing the rank and file workers in a way that you want them directed. Again, do not expect everybody on your team to think like a CEO. There used to be this thinking. These days is pretty much going away. It's pretty much been extinguished these days, but you still hear it every now and then. In small businesses with, let's say, up to maybe 1 to 25 employees. You still hear this from some business owners, and some of you may be listening to this right now, where they will say something like, how do I get my employees to think as if they own the company? How do I get my staff to operate like CEOs and to think like CEOs and to think like owners of the company? The answer is you can't, because they are not owners of the company. They are not CEOs, and they know that they're not owners, and they know that they're not CEOs, and there's no motivational speaker you can bring in that's going to get them to think like that. Because if the motivational speaker does come in and get them successfully to think about owning anything, it's about owning their own business and owning their own shit, which has nothing to do with your business. That's the only thing you can motivate them to do when it comes to ownership. They don't have ownership. What you want to do instead, if you're talking to someone like me, so I just told you why you won't want to bring me in to motivate them to think like you, because they ain't going to do that, Mr. Owner. But what you can bring me in to do is to help you, and in turn help them put the right processes and systems in place, so that even though nobody on your 30-person staff is thinking like an owner, you as the owner thinking like an owner will have those the people in that 30-person staff operating under a system that helps you succeed, helps them succeed, helps the business succeed, all at the same time, even though their mindsets have not changed to ownership mindsets. And at the same time, I'll give them a motivational speech to motivate them to be the best version of themselves and be able to operate on the third day and understand how to work on your game philosophy can apply to them at their jobs and growing in their positions, even though they're not the owner of the company. All right, that I can help you do. So see, you were just asking the wrong question. I just replaced it with a better question and told you a better solution. So reach out to my assistant and we'll make that work. Just go to DreBaldwin.com. That's my speaking website. So do not expect everybody on your team to think like a CEO, because they ain't CEOs. All right, you're not going to fool them into thinking they are. You must maintain the vision of the CEO and make sure it's being executed regardless of who else shares it with you. Because again, you're the CEO, not them, you. This is not a group activity. You are in charge after all, because again, you're the one with the vision. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to operate like a CEO. Number 3, your approach is a system. It is not a mood, and it is not a feeling. Your approach is a system. Now, again, your system infects others' moods. It infects others' feelings. But the system itself is not a mood. Okay, so your system infects others' moods and feelings, but what you do is not based on moods or feelings, because you can't afford that. It's a way of being. It's an operational structure in and of itself. Just as with any other leader in any other space in life, a CEO cannot just go off of how they feel. You don't have space for that, because you're not always going to feel great. Things may not always look good. You may not always be so certain about the future, but you need to project those things that you feel good, things look good, and you're certain about the future. Why? Because if you falter, everybody else is going to fall apart. There's a whole lot of people depending on you, and a whole lot of processes and outcomes based on what you do or you do not do, which means you have to get the job done every time, regardless of how you feel. I wrote an entire book on this concept called The Third Day. You can get it for free by going to thirddaybook.com. And if you have a team, we have bulk options, so you can get a whole bulk of the books for your whole team. I wrote an entire book on this concept. Your approach as a CEO is all about the system that you install, and you are measured on the outcomes of that installed and executed system. That's what CEO is measured on, the outcomes of the system that you put in place. If you fail, you get replaced. You succeed, you end up on the cover of Forbes and Entrepreneur magazines, which means when challenges come up that are presented either directly to you or to your subordinates or to your leadership team, those people can address the challenge based on the system that you have already installed and taught to them and shared with them, not even them just making an independent unilateral decision on their own. They may be equipped to do that and empowered to do that, but it's based on your system still. No matter what they do, everything is based on your system. Napoleon Bonaparte, for example, the French dictator or French general, he was well known for being one of the first generals to give so much freedom and autonomy to his lieutenants on the battlefield, because he didn't want them to have to check with him and get permission from him before they did anything. He would give them the mission of what he wanted them to get done and allow them to figure out how they wanted to do it and make decisions on the fly instead of having to come through him as a bottleneck every time they wanted to do something. So the concept of the mission statement is often credited to Napoleon Bonaparte, because he would give the mission to his people and he would let them execute it however they saw fit. As long as he saw them as qualified, he would give them a whole lot of leeway. You can do that, but understand it's still your system. They were still operating under Napoleon's system, even though it seemed like they were making decisions on their own. They were making decisions on their own because part of the system was for them to make decisions on their own. Do you understand? So you as the CEO, this is your job to get all this stuff in place. Their thinking is directed by the vision that has been given to them by the person in charge. And again, that would be you. Let's recap today's class, which is how to operate, what it means to operate like a CEO. Since everyone says the phrase, let's see what it means. Number one, your presence sets the tone for the entire organization. Again, Dennis Rodman on Michael Jordan. Every night you feel like we had a good chance to win because you have Michael Jordan on your team. This is a Hall of Fame player saying this, not some bum scrub who just got on the team for a few days. Number two, operate from and maintain a vision for the future. Your number one job as a CEO is to have a vision for the future and to embody that vision of the future, even when the people around you may be extremely uncertain. Again, this is a posture. This is a way of being. This is not so much a tactical skill or an intellectual ability. Notice we're not talking about that at all in this episode. Number three, your approach as a system is not a mood or a feeling. You don't always feel like it. You won't always feel like it. When you're the boss, it doesn't matter how you feel. You got to get the job done. That's the reason why you're the boss. I wrote an entire book on this concept. It's called The Third Day. If you don't have it, go to thirddaybook.com. The link is down in the description of this episode. Even the people under you, if they're empowered to make decisions on their own, that's because it's through your system that they are empowered in such a way, not just because they just decided to go rogue and do what they wanted to do. You're controlling all of it, even though it may seem like they have freedom to do as they wish. That's what a CEO does. You're the orchestrator. All that said, everybody, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to learn how to put these things into place through your mindset, get the right mindset installed for yourself, which leads to making sure that we have and we can execute the proper strategy. We turn those strategies, executions, into systems. The systems start doing all the heavy lifting. Then we're getting the outputs, the results, the outcomes that you want, and making sure everything's held accountable for total execution and producing results, because we're in a results-based business. We systematize all of this at Work on Your Game University. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, get with us, let's get to work, and let's make it happen. Work on your game. Dre all